Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Some breaking news today on the release of Tarell Basham, and it's all made possible by one of the newest sponsors here at the Cowboys Report. That is RexMD. They are FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. If you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, or you get a little too nervous, or had too much to drink, there is nothing worse than not being able to perform when you need to. And RexMD is offering generic and branded Viagra and Cialis easily to obtain for 90% off. Only $2 per dosage at rexmd.com/chat. More on them later on in today's show. But first, the news of the day. Tarell Basham, the backup reserve defensive end, has been released by the Dallas Cowboys. And yes, we'll get into it. It does open up a roster spot. Some few reasons, theories why that could be. Stay tuned, I promise. But first, more on Basham. He had been shopped at the NFL trade deadline. Simply put, he had not done much of anything for the Dallas Cowboys this year. They're deep at edge rusher. They will eventually need those roster spots for players who will either come back from injury or sign with the organization. So nothing too noteworthy in terms of like the instant timing, but beyond the fact that it is a little bit curious when he's arrived to the Dallas Cowboys organization, but he hadn't, or cut from the Cowboys organization, I should say. He hadn't done anything. He had no stats this year, only 2 games played. The Cowboys, simply put, didn't need him anymore, and they have had better edges on this roster, better options at the pass rusher position, who you were never going to not play over Tarell Basham. When he came back from IR, they tried to trade him. No luck. He was 7th on their edge depth chart, including Micah, who I'll put as defensive end 3 because he does play some off-ball linebacker, but in reality, he's just athlete number 1. You're not playing Dank Lawrence behind Basham. You're not going to put Basham over Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Chauncey Golston, and certainly not Sam Williams, who has performed quite nicely this year. Basham played, like I said, 2 games this year. There were no stats. He kind of is who he is, which is, you know, if he's your defensive end 5 or 4, okay. But when he's your defensive end 7, you don't need that guy, and you don't want him being anything more than one of your backup defensive edges. He's been a 3-sack-ish guy throughout his NFL career. 3.5 for the Cowboys last year. 3.5 in 2020. 2 sacks. Has bounced around the Jets and Colts. We'll get into this more in depth later. There is a chance he ends up getting claimed because teams are always in the market for pass rush help. But Basham, he kind of, the phrase is a jag, not Jacksonville Jag, but he's just a guy. You don't need a veteran, just a guy at this point in the NFL calendar. So what is your one-word reaction to the Cowboys cutting Tarell Basham? It's the pinned comment on today's video. So head down to the comment section and let me know your one-word reaction to Basham being cut. My one word is inevitable. Whether it was Tuesday, today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, next week, 2 weeks from now, the Cowboys are tight on roster space in terms of what's coming down the pipeline. They don't have unlimited roster spots. There's nobody hurt right now. They are a little bit tight on the roster construction, and carrying 7 defensive ends, including Micah Parsons, isn't really something you ever need to do in the NFL. Simply put, the Cowboys didn't need Tarell Basham. They did not need him on the active roster because he wasn't playing, and they need other positions coming up in the near future, which we'll get into in a little bit. Now you're thinking, Odell Beckham, Tyron Smith, maybe on Tyron. We'll spend time on Odell Beckham, James Washington, etc. But this was a logical, inevitable move by the Dallas Cowboys. That's why they shoved him to the trade deadline. They didn't need him. So are you mad that Tarell Basham was cut? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comments section. A simple Y or N will do. Now, one more quick note here on Basham. He is a vested veteran, so if he goes unclaimed, he can apply for his salary and still get paid, so it doesn't really save that much money. If he gets claimed on waivers, which is a possibility here, there's rather minimal cap savings if he's claimed because he's spent most of the time. $1.75 million base salary divided by 17 times the 6 games or 5 games left, looking at around $500,000, a little bit more than that, in the event he ends up being claimed. Doesn't really move the needle for you that much at this point in the NFL calendar, but I did want to make note of the contract. Today's Cowboys Report is sponsored by Rex MD. If you sometimes lack the confidence in the bedroom, or maybe have one of those nights where you get a little too nervous or had too much to drink, it happens. There's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear, Rex MD is here spreading cheer even when you've had too many beers this holiday season, or maybe eggnog or whatever you like to drink around the holiday season. Rex MD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's Cowboys Report to help you always be prepared. Rex MD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. Rex MD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything's online, even the prescription. And they deliver it, by the way, discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance or co-pays. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered. Save up to 90% and only pay $2 per dosage with our link, rexmd.com/chat. Go to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time exclusive deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are available for you guys to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat. Give the gift of pleasure this holiday season with Rex MD. Links in the comments section and the description as well. With the release of Tarell Basham, it does open up a roster spot. And I know what the immediate social media guess was. Odell Beckham coming, right? I wouldn't assume that the release of Basham means they're signing Odell Beckham because the timing still isn't right. Jerry Jones again expressed interest in adding OBJ, and Stephen Jones said it too, and they're kind of like, we're not going to talk about it anymore because we've made our pitch and now we want to kind of protect ourselves from a money perspective. He visits the Cowboys on Monday. And when you sign him, you would need a roster spot. But freeing up that spot now and leaving it open in theory for game day isn't necessary, even though Basham wasn't going to be playing for you, which I think is certainly worth considering in terms of the timing. You'll eventually need it, but maybe there's a different spot you're looking for here. So we'll spend some more time on wide receiver, etc. But who do you want the Dallas Cowboys to add to the active roster? Emphasis on active, i.e. injured players, practice squad, free agents, all count as options here. Let me know in the comments section. The Cowboys were carrying 7 defensive ends and 5 healthy receivers. They might want to get that to 6, maybe keep it at 5 if they want to try to injury stash Tolbert, but not sure. Kevontae Turpin has been a gadget player. At some point, I think the Cowboys will add a wide receiver to this group. Odell Beckham has been my prediction. They are very much in the mix. It comes down to the medical and the knee, but you want him for that playoff push, right? You want him for January when you need one more play from your receiver, and relying on Beckham over Noah Brown, if OBJ is healthy, does help you. And it's very tough to find, especially outside the roster, upgrades, additions in December. That's not really how things tend to go in the NFL. It's a very rare, unique situation. We've kept you guys covered on Odell Beckham way before the national media was, because we're the #1 Cowboys YouTube channel out there, and many of you had asked about it because you're smart Cowboys fans. Hit that subscribe button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Free to subscribe with free videos every single day, sometimes twice a day, like today. A note on James Washington. Jerry says he's close. I could see him being designated to return this week. My theory, prediction, whatever you want to call it, has always been that the Cowboys are slow playing Washington's return to see what happens with Beckham. Now, maybe James is like, just put me out there. I want to be activated. If not, cut me, which could very well be a possibility. I think they're slow playing with Beckham. The area I'm actually watching, beyond, of course, the OBJ stuff, which I get, but in terms of this week, is the offensive line. I don't think you're going to see Tyron Smith designated to return this week, but he very well could next week. I think at some point the next 2 weeks, I would bet, if I had to bet one way or the other, in the next, at this point, we'll call it really 8 days, I think you see Tyron Smith back at practice for the Dallas Cowboys. Once he's activated, there's a 21-day window for the Cowboys to put him on the active roster or he's out for the year. That puts it in like a month span of he's back on the active roster or he's not playing again this year, and it's probably on the shorter end of that timeline. And we mentioned the Cowboys carrying 7 defensive linemen. That's a bit of a high number. The Cowboys carrying 7 offensive linemen, as they are currently, is actually a very low number. And they've been calling up guys from the practice squad each and every single week to get that 8th offensive lineman out there. Now, It's Tyler Smith, McGovern, Biotish, Martin, Steele, Ball, and Peters, and they've moved Peters to left tackle. They have no backup interior offensive lineman. Once they get Tyron Smith back, they move Tyler Smith to left guard, Connor McGovern to your backup offensive lineman, and you feel probably pretty good about those 8 offensive linemen on your roster. And you want Tyron Smith back because he's been, when healthy, a premier left tackle in the NFL. He was really good last year, way better numbers than what Tyron Smith's done. Almost same snaps, actually only 10 more for Tyron Smith. Of course, injuries matter there. Put the Smiths at left tackle, left guard. I think you'll feel good about that. I would at least just keep an eye on this potentially happening, if only for a week, and then you waive him again, at least with one player in mind. If Tyron's not ready, the Cowboys have 2 notable offensive linemen that they can add. Matt Farniok is on IR. I think it's a little early for his return. It was said 6 weeks. It's only been about 4 to 5, so a bit early for his hamstring recovery there. Dakota Shepley has been their go-to practice squad promotion player with Matt Farniok on IR. He's out of active call-ups. He would have to be signed to the active roster if he wants to play a game. You could sign him for a day or for a couple of days, cut him, put him back on the practice squad once Tyron Smith comes back, and I think he would clear waivers. I would keep an eye. That's the dark horse answer for what they're going to go from that standpoint. Avion Collins, by the way, another offensive line option. Offensive tackle might be a bit of a stretch there. That is it for today's video. I don't think they're going to add, I'll make one just verbal note here. I don't think they're going to go with Takk McKinley as the call-up because he's probably not going to play anyway, and he's already on your practice squad. I would keep an eye out more for the offensive line, but maybe Takk McKinley could be your mega dark horse option. If you have theories, feel free to DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney.